If you're feeling crazy for crazy bread or your stomach is grumbling for the extra most bestest, then release your cries of pizza pizza and check out our rankings of these popular Little Caesars menu items. There was a time when crazy bread was so crazy good that Little Caesars fans would be fighting over the last breadstick, and the whole bag was empty minutes after getting it home. It was fluffy, garlicky, and slightly buttery with just enough Parmesan and salt to make the whole experience a heavenly carb fest. Sadly, the current crazy bread isn't the stuff of those magical memories. Ultimately, they're semi-flavorless, overly oily breadsticks that never quite live up to expectations. The garlic and Parmesan are sparse, and one stick is enough. You have the option to order the breadsticks with crazy sauce, which is a cup of tasty marinara. The price is exactly the same, so if you're giving the crazy bread a shot, you should get the sauce as well. It's probably the most redeeming part of this appetizer. We're willing to admit that our own memories might be flawed, but it seems more likely that something has changed in the production process.
Cold crazy bread. Really is crazy.
Hawaiian pizza is famously controversial. Does pineapple even belong on pizza? And what kind of ham should be used, or is any kind of pork okay? But we're not here to settle whether or not Hawaiian pizza should exist, just whether or not the Little Caesars version is satisfying for someone who likes it in the first place. Ironically enough, though, the Hula Hawaiian pizza seems to be made for people who aren't really into pineapple pies. The pineapple chunks are small, and the flavor is so subtle that it's almost lost in the pizza. The ham is cut into small chunks, which we understand is easy to sprinkle faster than slices of fresh-cut ham. Unfortunately, it's also very subtle in flavor and saltiness. Ultimately, if you're hungry and you have this Hawaiian pizza in front of you, you'll only be mildly satisfied. That's because Little Caesars does the whole dough, sauce, and cheese thing quite well. But as a Hawaiian pizza lover, you'll likely be disappointed. If you're a Hawaiian dissenter, you might find something you like here, but it's far more likely that you'll object on principle. When Little Caesars says this is a thin crust pizza, they aren't being modest. The crust is in fact exceptionally thin, little more than the height of 2 tortillas stacked on top of each other. Think of it sort of like an open-faced pizza quesadilla. The dough itself might not even be leavened, which is a little surprising given how much effort Little Caesars puts into making their doughs in-house. If you order the thin crust to cut down on calories, you should know you're not really saving that much. The ExtraMostBestest regular pepperoni pizza clocks in at 2,470 calories, while the thin crust version is only 290 calories less. The crust itself is less flavorful than the regular version, but that's not especially surprising. On the upside, the thin crust is substantial enough to confidently carry all of the toppings. If you like your pizza to be strong on the sauce, you won't be disappointed here. There's also a reasonable amount of cheese and pepperoni, and we wouldn't want any less considering that they're the main event. Thin crust lovers will likely be very happy with a slice of this pie, but overall, we think the regular pizza dough is better. You might not think of buffalo wings when you think of Little Caesars, but they're a popular side dish that are offered in several flavors. Available in classic buffalo, oven-roasted, barbecue, and garlic parmesan, the Caesar wings come 8 to an order. They aren't the same jumbo-sized wings and drumsticks you might find at your corner bar, but instead the sort that you can finish in 1 or 2 bites. While they're still deep fried, they aren't especially crispy, which might be disappointing if you're a fan of classically crackled skin on wings. Still, these wings are generously sauced with a comfortably flavored buffalo sauce that isn't overly sweet or spicy. They don't come with a dipping sauce, but that's not especially necessary for the buffalo wings. But if you like sauce, Little Caesars offers the original marinara crazy sauce, in addition to butter garlic flavor, buffalo ranch, cheesy jalapeno, and ranch. They seem like a good idea paired with the oven-roasted wings, although the barbecue and garlic parmesan are also a very well-sauced option that can stand on their own just fine. One order probably isn't enough for a whole dinner, so consider opting for a few different flavors. The highlight of the Detroit-style deep dish pepperoni pizza is undoubtedly the crispy grilled cheese edges, since it's clear that the toppings are cooked right up to the edge of the pan. Unsurprisingly, there's also a lot of dough here. In general, Little Caesars dough is pretty tasty, and it's still tasty here, but there's just so much more of it. Still, it's fairly light and cooked all the way through with a beautiful golden bottom, which is everything a deep dish pizza should be. While the toppings are nice, they definitely aren't the main event. The sauce and cheese feel sparse in comparison to the thick crust. The pepperoni deep comes with 4 pepperonis per slice, which neatly fit on top of each piece. This pizza actually comes in 2 separate pieces, which indicates that they're probably cooked in the same pans as the Italian cheese bread, which is the same size as one of the 2 deep dish pizzas. That makes perfect sense since the cheese bread is essentially a deep dish pizza without sauce. While the Detroit-style deep dish pizzas are cut into 8 slices, you're going to fill up much faster than you would with ordinary slices.
It's the real deal.
How much do you think I could get for it?
$100,000.
This middle entry is by far the easiest way to work a few vegetables into your meal, even if you aren't especially a fan of veggie pizzas. Little Caesar's version of veggie pizza is dressed with green peppers, onions, mushrooms, black olives, and finished with Italian seasoning. But none of those veggies are especially strong. Much like the Hula Hawaiian, this veggie pizza might be geared more towards pleasing those who aren't especially fans of veggie pizzas in general, while offering just enough to meet the basic requirements for those who do love it. The onions are the most flavorful topping, finely chopped and sweet with a nice crunch. The mushrooms are few and far between with an inoffensive texture. The green peppers almost completely blend into the fray. The olives are fine, adding a small welcome hit of salt. Overall, it's underwhelming as a veggie pizza, but fine as a pizza in general. It's really carried by the sauce and cheese, which are nicely balanced with the toppings. We'd happily eat it if it was in front of us, but given the choice, we'd recommend a cheese pie instead. There's nothing to dislike about the hot and ready cheese pizza. It might not blow your taste buds away, but it's got a great foundation of a flavorful crust, sweet and spiced sauce, and enough cheese to keep you happy. Since each ingredient is precisely measured and the whole process is carefully timed, you can reliably expect the same experience every time you have a craving. The beauty of the hot and ready pizza is that it's ready whenever you are. You just walk into your local Little Caesars and it's there waiting for you to eat it. They're made in batches throughout the day and placed in the warmer for no longer than 30 minutes. Even more impressive than the lightning-fast turnaround is the affordable price that's comparable to 2 subpar greasy slices and a drink at any other random pizza place. It really shouldn't come as a surprise that a Little Caesars classic cheese pizza is improved by the addition of pepperoni. What is a surprise is that the pepperoni version of the hot and ready classic is actually the same price as the plain cheese. The flavor of the pepperonis brings out the Italian spice blend in the sauce a little more, slightly elevating the overall experience. There are about 3 pieces of pepperoni per slice, which is adequate. Since this is such a great deal, we really can't complain about the exact distribution of pepperoni slices. You'll want to be sure and eat this pizza while it's hot. Even if you can't enjoy a cold leftover slice in general, this is one of those pizzas that loses a tremendous amount of flavor and texture the colder it gets.
How can you dance during a time like this?
In 2017, Little Caesars introduced the ExtraMostBestest Pizza, which includes more cheese and pepperoni with every bite. How much pepperoni? At least 50 slices per pizza. When it was originally released in 2017, the ExtraMostBestest was available for only $6. That cost has since gone up, and be sure to check your local Little Caesars for the exact price, but it's still an unbeatable deal. Simply put, you're getting plenty of bang for your buck here, especially if you're a cheese lover. Dough aficionados will find their match here as well, with the deep dish pizza facing some serious competition. Sauce lovers will be won over by the ExtraMostBestest thin crust version, and cheeseheads will delight in the extra cheesy pull of the classic ExtraMostBestest. However, keep in mind that the availability of specific versions may vary by location. At these prices, you could easily gather a few friends and try all these pies to see which option you like best without breaking the bank. If you're not into pepperoni, Little Caesars also offers the ExtraMostBestest pizza in cheese only. Maybe you think of stuffed crust pizza as a gimmick. Perhaps you're old enough to remember when the first stuffed crust arrived on the national scene from Pizza Hut in 1995. Donald Trump and his then-wife Ivana were in the very first stuffed crust commercial for Pizza Hut. They were dressed to the nines as they ate their pizza backwards, which was quite controversial at the time. But when you set your expectations so low, sometimes you're pleasantly surprised. For one thing, the cheesy pull of Little Caesars stuffed crust is reminiscent of a baked mozzarella stick. But the truly impressive thing is that there are also pepperoni pieces rolled into the crust, making for the perfect continuum of toppings from the first bite to the last. The stuffed crust pepperoni pizza is a little more expensive than some of the other offerings from Little Caesars, but it's still less expensive than similar options from Pizza Hut and Papa John's. You might not order this breakout gem every time you order pizza, but it's a wonderful treat when you do.
It's a special pizza we only do every once in a while.
Most of the time, a meat lover's pizza is perfectly fine. The meats can be under-seasoned or just generally lacking in quality. But when it comes to Little Caesars 3-meat treat pizza, the entire thing is immaculately seasoned and by far the most delicious pie of the bunch. Even better, it's the one pizza that maintains its integrity long after cooling off. Covered in pepperoni, Italian sausage, and bacon, the 3-meat treat pizza is a salty and savory delight. The Italian sausage is small enough to enjoy without dominating the other toppings, but large enough to stand out. There are meaty delights in every bite, even if it's not always all 3 types of meat. Plus, there's enough cheese to ensure that most of the meat pieces actually stay attached to the pizza instead of getting all over your shirt. If you love the 3-meat treat pizza as much as we do, then you should know that Little Caesars also offers a 5-meat feast pizza that includes smoky ham and ground beef for just $1 more. We don't really think those extra toppings are necessary, but if you're an insatiable carnivore, then they've got you covered.